Up next, Howard, I know you wanted to introduce Jessica here as our featured speaker.
I sure do. I'm in the program committee. Is everyone able to hear me? Well,
Yes.
Yep.
good. I'm in the program committee and responsible as the contact person for this today's program. And our speaker is Jessica Speyer, who manages the Bayside Park Farm. This is an Arcata park facility. Many of you are no doubt familiar with it. It's out Old Arcata Road as you're heading towards Bayside, and you pass the Samoa Boulevard section where you turn into Murphy's Market. It's just beyond that. To the left, it's a community facility at 930 Old Arcata Road. And Jessica has been farming for over 9 years, and she manages that facility, and she's going to be telling us more about it today. Jessica first started farming when she was a student at HSU, and she graduated there with majors in art and also in environmental management. And yes, and she's now a practicing artist, but also employed by the city of Arcata to manage that farm. She's lives in Blue Lake, and her passions are certainly farming and art, but she also is quite the hiker and lives in a great place to enjoy all of our local hikes. So let's give a warm welcome to Jessica to hear more about the farm.
Better without this. Not very good at projecting my voice. Hello, thanks for having me today. My name is Jessica, as Howard said, and so yeah, I'm a City of Arcata employee. Has anybody ever been to the Arcata farm at all? Okay, cool. Yeah, so the main kind of purpose of the farm, of the food that we produce, is for a CSA, community supported agriculture. So that's pretty much, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but I'll just explain. It's so people sign up in the spring and support with the startup costs of the farm. And then in return, they get 20 weeks of produce. So they come June through October once a week, and we harvest everything mostly that morning. So it's like a hustle kind of day. And then they come in the afternoon and get the fresh produce. We also do a you pick flower area, which is really fun. People can just pick their own bouquets. As you see, there's lots of beautiful flowers we grow. It's kind of like the joy garden, I call it. It's fun. But yeah, we do all kinds of produce. I actually have our farm share advertisement here, and I can kind of read the list of things that we are going to supply through the season. We got artichokes, arugula, basil, beets, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, calendula, carrots, cauliflower, celery, chamomile, chard, chives, cilantro, collards, cucumber, dill, eggplant, fennel, flowers, garlic, green beans, green onions, kale, leeks, lettuce, onions, peppers, potatoes, radish, spinach, sugar snap peas, summer squash, tomatillos, tomatoes, and turnips. So yeah, I'm very busy. Excuse me.
How many members?
Well, we accept about 50 members, and each one is for about 3 to 4 people. So it's like feeding, up to 200 people, families, and such. Yeah, and we have plenty of space if anyone's interested. It's kind of a cool opportunity to support the farm, and it kind of changes throughout the season. Like it starts out with like the fresh spring crops, and as you go on, like the tomatoes and peppers come, and then you get into the fall crops of like storage onions and potatoes and things like that. So it's definitely like a lot of variety and changes through time. So guess I'll talk a little bit about the history of the farm because it's a very unique kind of situation. It started out being the HSU farm, like their agriculture learning program. And it started back, I think that we're on the 29th year of the farm. And it was actually the first CSA in Humboldt County. And then, yeah, so it's always had this kind of educational background to the farm. And it's really a place for what they call like fledgling farmers, people that are learning the skills of farming to like have a place where there's less like risk financially and things like that, and get to really learn. And this is my second year managing the farm. And yeah, I definitely learned a lot last year. But as Howard said, I started working there when I was in college. I worked there for 3 seasons, and then I worked on a bigger farm elsewhere for a while and came back to manage it last season. So it's a very special place to me, this piece of land. And then, so yeah, HSU owned it for about half the time, and then the city of Arcata kind of took over because, I don't know, the HSU is ending their ag program, and the city took over, and it's been maybe 13 years or so. But the people that have run the place have really kept the education part of it. So not just for the farmers that are running the place, but for other people that want to learn how to farm, as far as volunteers and interns and things like that. So we still do this volunteer program. And this one is about a 2.5-month commitment, once or twice a week. And it's kind of like a job, you know, they were expected to be there for the period of time. But people are really love it, and they get to take home food, fresh produce, and they get to take home starts for their own garden. Yeah, and learn. And that's how I started farming, I was one of these people. So it's pretty awesome just to show people the, exciting ways of growing food. And I'm also really excited this year. I put together also a drop-in volunteering. So for people that don't really want to commit to that much of like weekly commitment, you can go in the city of Arcata and check it out. There's 2 days a month, Thursdays 1 to 4. I think the first one is next week, next Thursday. And anyone could just drop in. You don't have to let me know beforehand, and it's just within those windows, and then get to be out on the farm, and it's beautiful out there. So another cool thing about the farm is about 1 acre of it. So it's about 3 acres that I'm farming, and then another acre are community garden plots. So people from the community, especially if you don't have enough space at your own home to grow food, you can rent the garden plot it's actually a really good deal, and you get it for the whole year, and you don't have any extra costs of watering or anything like that. And we have a tool shed and a compost pile, like everything you need. So it's kind of a cool thing that people can work together, and if they would like, and have their own space. And I'm really excited that the Umoja program over at HSU, they just got 3 garden plots. And so I'm excited to be working with them. We're going to have a couple tours coming up, and yeah, just getting some students out on the farm. Let's see. One question they had for me was, what inspires me most about being involved with the farm? I just think it's really great to be able to provide organic fresh produce. It's not a certified organic farm, but we have organic practices the whole time the farm's been in existence. As my mentor calls it, more organic, because it's going to be more organic than a lot of things that are shipped in from the grocery store that say they're organic, which is pretty wild. But yeah, just providing like really healthy, fresh food for people. And then also, I really love getting to share the excitement for food, which I still very much have with other people that I had that opportunity to have when I was first interning on the farm. So yeah, right now on the farm, I'm got all the starts going in the greenhouse, got it all filled up, and we're gonna do the first planting today, actually. So it's very exciting. And it's a couple weeks earlier than last year. It's kind of interesting. It's a lot drier, as you guys might have noticed, but gives an advantage for farming, being able to plant a little bit earlier. I also direct seeded a bunch of stuff this week. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, especially seeing the farm since I first started there in 2013. It's been a huge difference as far as the land and how much water is in the fields and how fast it dries out. So it's pretty wild being a farmer close to the land and really like seeing climate change like firsthand, even in this short amount of time. Because this farm, prior to the farm, it was a soccer field like almost 30 years ago. And then when it became a farm, they designated it as a wetland. So it's kind of poses some challenges for sure for growing food, especially trying to get things going in the spring and ready to have food by June for all the farm share members. Because it's super wet in the fields, but yeah, compared to other places in Arcata especially, and I know Redwood Roots, which is down the road from our farm, is very similar as far as the land and the dampness of the soil in the spring. So she is one of my mentors, and she actually started this farm as well with a few other people. Yeah, let's see. Does anyone have any questions at all for me?
What's your favorite plant to grow?
My favorite plant to grow. Ooh, that's hard. I mean, I definitely have gotten into medicinal plants such as Tulsi. Basil is one of my favorites. It just smells super great and is a really amazing medicinal plant. It's fun to be able to incorporate things like that. Last year I grew, which is a great medicinal plant. We had chamomile, and there was like a few other. So it's fun to be able to incorporate that, even if it's in the flower garden. And I'll just tell them, hey, you can make tea out of that too. So that's kind of fun. But besides that, I really like also growing storage crops, just because it's really cool to be able to grow something that will last for months. It's really awesome. I actually worked on a farm in Maine, and they had food year round, and they had a huge warehouse with storage crops. And that was pretty amazing to see that they could grow enough food for the whole year just in their short summer and then store it for the whole winter. So it was a really cool experience. Did you have a question?
I have a question and a comment. What should I be planting right now? And that's the first question.
So today we're going to plant the Brassica Greens. So I have got like 3 different kinds of kale and collards. So that's what I'll be planting today, but I have a bunch of other brassicas queued up. They're definitely more cold hardy. And then I direct seeded all kinds of stuff at, let's see, sugar snap peas, beets, carrots, different kinds of radishes, and cilantro. So I feel like those are all like pretty cold hardy. I definitely am going to use some row cover. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a kind of fabric that you can cover the beds, and it does several things. It protects it from bugs, and then it also protects it from frost and cold, and then other critters. Like we got some deer problem I'm trying to deal with. So I really don't want them to mess up my very first, planting on the farm. That would be unfortunate. So yeah, I plan on covering everything, and it almost creates like a mini greenhouse effect.
What's that powder called?
A row cover, or I think one of the brands is Remay. Yeah. So it's a great tool for sure.
Just one thing, Jessica was so nice to host one of our interns last year. We had Devon working with her on the farm, and we had a really good time. We super interested in farming, and so I'm just really grateful that she was willing to take a risk on this program. Be like, hey, I have this kid who's interested, and she's just like, yeah, sure, yeah, send him over. And thank you.
Yeah.
You go ahead. You go ahead. Okay, I'll go first, even though I have a big question.
Yeah.
So that plot of land could feed how many people?
Well, and honestly, it could probably feed more. I'm saying the CSA itself is about approximately 200, depending on, because it can feed up to 4 people per, some people like split it with other families. Some people, it just really depends on how much an individual eats. But I'm planning on doing some farmers markets, and then with other abundance, I open up the farm stand when I have extra food on Thursdays, like in the summertime. So I definitely think there could be, you know, potential for a lot of food there for sure. But we are dealing with, I'm one of the only employees, me and one other person we're going to hire next week, and then everything else is volunteers. So you know, I have to be kind of training people how to do things. I think if it was, you know, a crew of 4 or 5 people that all were like farmers, like could probably be maximized. But at this time, you know, the main goal is educating other people and having those programs, and then also like having the CSA. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of food that comes out of there for sure. And then, oh yeah, we do the winter U-pick, which is kind of fun. So the farm is kind of like on autopilot. So yeah, there was about 22 farm shares for the winter. So it's smaller, but it's cool that we're feeding people like all year round. So what was your question?
Yeah, you mentioned that the soil drying earlier. That's nice for planting. How does the farm source its water?
It is
For irrigation.
It is the city water. So yeah, it's on that irrigation. But yeah, in the past, like I remember we did do dry farming with winter squash and potatoes. Like I think certain fields are more wet, but last year I didn't do that. It would really just dried up. So it's definitely a different kind of landscape, but yeah.
And is it at what used to be tidal wetlands, or is it more of a freshwater wetlands historically?
I'm not exactly
You don't
sure
have
if
salt
it's.
issues in the soil down there?
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think it's like a tidal. Okay, like salt. Yeah, because that would probably pose problems for growing food if there's too much salt in the soil. But it's very, very clayey, thick soil. So
So it's got to be a little drier in order to get it loosen up the plant. That
yeah, totally. Otherwise, it'll just be like big chunks. So yeah, it's like a lot of farming is just like, all right, like gotta work with what you got, because I have plans to plant this planting today in a certain area, and yesterday I had to say, nope, can't do it over there. It's too wet. I have to choose somewhere else. So, you know, I have to kind of like go with what's, you know, the circumstances sometimes. So yeah, any other questions?
Thank you very much for presenting today. You said you had some brochures you wanted to leave out?
Yeah, could I leave these?
Please, yes.
It's the volunteer.
We'll share those around to the
Awesome.
club. Is it okay to send that out by email?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's
perfect.
on the City of Arcata website as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our club, just so you know, will be presenting a $50 donation to the Wheelchair Foundation in your name for coming here to
Awesome.
speak. So it
Cool.
provides wheelchair access for people that couldn't otherwise afford to purchase it. So
That's awesome.
thank you for speaking today.